100%. Well, you've put the work in and you wrote and shot Plight. And so you like you mentioned, you shot this during COVID. What was the budget? $60,000?
So we had 63,000 going into production. 3 weeks. We were scheduled 17 days. We actually wrapped in 16 days. As a filmmaker, there's so many things you can fear. You can worry about this not working. The only thing I feared, Impavid Entertainment is my company, and people that don't know what Impavid is, you can look it up, but it's the undaunted, the fearless. And the reason for that is you have to be fearless in what you go after. And the entertainment, the films we bring, that's what I believe. But what I did fear was a positive COVID test. Every time I woke up and I just felt like I'm going to have a text message or I'm going to see that somebody tested positive. Every day that nobody tested positive, and we were thankfully nobody tested positive, I felt like we're shooting we're making our days. We didn't go over, I think, I don't know, my AD's voices in my head. I think maybe we went over like half an hour, 2 days or something like that. We never had any of those 18-hour days. We really tried to make sure we were protecting, cast and crew, respecting the time. And, it was a brilliant experience. This little town, it felt like we had a backlot, because the furthest location was a 2-minute drive.
Wow. Okay. So again, so you wrote it to your resources, or you found a way to be super resourceful in terms of locations. I'm assuming quite a small crew, pretty like skeleton crew on this.
Yeah, fairly small. I wrote it, I directed, I produced. A lot of my producing, getting to set, like I had to lean on my my other producer, Heather Webb. She was incredible. We had another producer, Jeff, who had a COVID scare, so he actually couldn't come to set for a little bit. He couldn't come to location for a few days. And so she was handling so much. She was also delivering meals. We had cinematographer Vidigo von Schulzendorf. He's a legendary German cinematographer. He shot Bayou Caviar. I met him down in New Orleans on Bayou Caviar. We just had so many great conversations about film and like the immersive experience of like creating a vision. And, at the time when COVID hit, I felt like, he's 76. He's the healthiest 76-year-old I knew, but I felt like, I don't know, he's elderly. I don't want to compromise him. And then our executive producer, Steve, he called me. He's like, oh, Vitigo's got, he's got COVID. He can't taste any wine or can't smell anything, but he's good. And I knew that call, I think, was in May. And I knew if we're looking to shoot in the fall now, I was like, okay, maybe there's enough time. Maybe he can. And so his paychecks are more than... he read the script and he's like, look, I'm in. And we had a great time creating. But him being in, we had one gaffer, a key grip who was like Superman. Like he was like 3 people in one. We've worked with him so many times. Our gaffer was an electrician. And so he did a great job too. But there's all this, we had first AC, a second AC. Our crew, yes, it was a skeleton. I'm going through the whole crew, but it's...
No. But this is valuable because people don't understand how small of a crew you actually can use to get by and make your film. Some people just think that, no, I need all of these extra bodies on set. And sometimes that actually just slows you down and of course costs you more money and more mouths to feed. It's really good to consider, well, what's the bare minimum amount of people that I can have on my team? Do I need 5 grips? Probably not.
So outside of our key grip, we had one grip who moonlighted as our boom op. We have a tremendous Jeff Bear, we call him Bear, who's like our go-to sound guy. He can usually do both, like boom opping and recording the sound and mixing. Sometimes we needed boom to get in there and he needed to really listen and focus on the mix. And our grip would go in there, who also is an extra in the film. And everybody on the film wore multiple hats. Nobody was just, there to do one job, really. Maybe the actors, but even the actors, like everything was different with like how we were going to shoot with COVID and how we had to maximize time. And, our makeup artist, that was a whole production, is like timing makeup right, because it was just her. And also like you can't reuse the same makeup with COVID. Like there are all these things that, between her and our producer and our ADs, they were fabulous. Like Alex and Evan, they did a great job of like working with me. And like, we were in the foxhole together, figuring it out. Like, okay, well, Allison with makeup, she needs this time. So you develop, it's nostalgic for me because I go back and I think about it, but you develop these fond memories because it's hyperbole to compare it to war, but for production war, that's what it is. You're going to battle to make a film, and everything is conspiring against you, and you say, I don't care, we're going to find a way. And you only do that with dedicated, passionate cast and crew. It resonates on screen when you can tell there's a heart behind the film. You see it on screen, and you can tell when you watch movies and you're like, yeah, they mailed it in. It was a clock in, clock out transactional endeavor. And
It felt lifeless in a way. Yeah, the heart wasn't there. I totally agree. I love this and how it came together. Now, post-production, how long did that take?
Post actually took a lot longer than anticipated. Justin Lewis is my editor. He's probably going to be my editor on it. He doesn't know he signed a life contract with me. He's going to edit everything.
Justin, if you're listening, you're the guy now.
He knows. He's an Emmy winning editor. He's tremendous. Like we assembled an all-star team, and he's a writer director in his own right as well. I mean, we went through. We probably had 3 or 4 months until we had a cut that we liked, but we went back out to Kansas for a day and a half to get some pickups, some small scenes. We started with our composer, Terrell Lamont. I'm at Terrell's place right now. This is his studio. He's also one of my best friends. And we worked through the music, and that process was amazing. I'd always done temp music before, and he had one ask of me. He said, can you just direct me? Give me a word or two or a few things. We'll just talk feel, but let me come up with something. And it was some of the best times I had working with Justin and Terrell through post. And sound was a little bit of an issue we had at first. We had sound. We had somebody doing sound and trying to hit, like every filmmaker does this. They all make this mistake. And I made this mistake of trying to hit a deadline. We're all trying to hit that Sundance, South by deadline, and you rush it. And we kind of rushed through sound. And so afterwards, I actually reconnected with an old friend of mine who is a Grammy-nominated sound engineer. He's done so much. And we worked on one of those films when I was 16. And he did like some music and some sound work. I mean, he has his 2 studios. He works out of one, he works at another. And so, I had barely any money left in the film. So I was trying to finance the rest. And it was, hey, can I Venmo you $100 this week, 150 this week? And so it was kind of a snail's pace. Everybody was grossly underpaid. But from a standpoint of like, I wanted to make sure, we have to respect their time. You can't turn down if you got a session that's coming in for $250 an hour. My $250 a month is not going to take precedent.
Yeah, we have to understand that that's just how it works. Everybody's trying to make a living and put food on the table. So, but if you can kick somebody an honorarium like that, even just as a thank you for their time.
Yeah, and then we were able to raise, toward the end of it, we were able to raise a few extra grand. And then I was like, hey, here, take this. And, he was able to block off some time. So our post was... It was about a year. It depends because we had a break where nothing was happening until he started. So it was about a year and a half, I would say. And then we did a festival run.
So this was like 2022, mid 2022. You finished the film then?
We shot November 2020, went through the edit, did the pickups in June 2021. Kind of got that like music and everything working through that first wave of sound toward the end of 2021. Didn't do anything with it for a while. We're kind of waiting until Angelo is his name. Angelo with Trackhouse. Trackhouse recorded incredible. He kind of started in 2022 and really amped it up in the spring, summer 2022. And then we were ready to start submitting to festivals toward the end of 2022. We had our world premiere at Julian Dubuque International in 2023. Which was an incredible experience. If any filmmakers out there, like head to that festival, they're terrific. Susan, who runs the festival, and her whole team, like they welcome you in. You're like royalty as a filmmaker there. And I didn't want to do like a 2-year run, but we were near a year, and then we got recruited. A couple other festivals were like, hey, we love the film. We got to see it. Or directors who, Moonlight at another festival talked about it. And so we ended up with a year and a half festival run, and then looked to sell the film after that.
Yeah. And did your deal with Indie Rights come out of a specific festival, or did you just end the festival run and then start approaching distributors?
So we had a few offers during the festival run. Every filmmaker feels like, I want that MG. You want the MG, and the MGs are gone with name actors unless you're at a certain level. Yeah, if Kevin Bacon's in the film, sure, you can get an MG, but like it's hard to get. And our actors are phenomenal, but they're not household names. And I'm not a household name director, so there's nothing for the distributor to look at and say, they could like the movie, and the laurels help a little bit, but at the end of the day, terrible film with an A-list or a very successful name, they know will make more money, or they can sell it for more.
And when you say no MG, I mean literally no MG, just a deal, like a contract for distribution, or are the MGs so small that like 10 grand, 20 grand?
So there was a 15 grand MG, but that every other term like raked us over the coals. And then there was a 20 grand buyout. Like, we see nothing. It's 20 grand. I'm like, that sounds cool to have an MG, but like, I can't do that to, I say my investor, I'm the biggest investor, so it's me too. But in my mind, I'm thinking like, how do we honor the film? How do we honor the investors? How do we, but the deal with indie rights, what I did was I wanted to do my due diligence and hit up every distributor that, we either had some connection to. And we had a lot of people who wanted the film. It was all like, what were they going to come with? And, with indie rights, they were straight shooters. Linda and Michael, they've supported the film. They were very honest about what they felt like the film could do, what they felt like the market is, and what other distributors may say. And I'd done my research from forums and talking to other fellow filmmakers. And I know a filmmaker, he's got a film with names and it's north of $1 million, and he didn't get an MG, and his distributor kind of told him this and this and that. And so it's interesting. When I reached out to Indie Rights, it was toward the beginning of the search, and I wanted to keep searching. And then they came back and fairly soon, and they were like, yeah, we really like the film. We'd like to take it on, this and that. I felt very comfortable going with them. At this point, as a filmmaker, you do the best research you can. You take a shot, and they were amenable to also working with me on the vision I had. And that's the thing. Like, a lot of distributors will have sample agreements. They want you to take this and this and that. And even they did. They had, these are kind of our go-tos. This is what we do. But talking with them, and I think that's the other thing I'll say to every filmmaker out there, speak up. Like, you're not going to offend. As long as you are respectful and kind, speak up for what you feel like best serves the film. And they've been great working with me on it. And it's been a very collaborative effort so far.
Yeah, it's so true. And another way to look at this is like when you're putting together a crew for production, you are hiring people that you want to work with and spend time with 12 hours, 15 hours a day. You also have to look at a distributor or other people that board your film after it's been shot as partners and people that you are working with. So you're not working for the distributor, you're working with the distributor. And so you want to find people that you get along with and can build a relationship with. And so I think you handled it perfectly. If you felt good about it, then that's great. And you like their plan for the movie, perfect. You're set. And now look at this. Your movie you're screening all over the country. You're traveling with film right now. That's super exciting. How has it been seeing your movie in various different cities with different audiences, and what's the reception been like?
It's been tremendous. I think you dream that it's going to be, an amazing experience and everyone will respond well, but that's what it's been so far. Like, the audiences are engaged. The questions, we've done the Q&As afterwards, have been very intuitive and very, locked into, either certain things that happen in the film, or like looking at at us up there in the Q&A and how we came about and what we did to approach every potential pitfall in production. The crowds have been great. Our 1 week run during the week, the crowds were a little bit smaller, but the weekend turnout in the beginning was phenomenal. And then the last day we were there was phenomenal. And then, we just did St. Francis, Kansas, and we had a packed house. And you do your, like, for me, we've got our street marketing, we've got some PR, we do this and that. But even with that, you're also cognizant of like, we don't want to spend so much money that we have to recoup now. So you have to be careful about it. And I felt like, the most efficient value is me getting out there and our cast and crew getting out there and street marketing and going to events and talking to people. And so you never know who's going to show up. And then with St. Francis, having to be a packed house, and the Q&A was like 33 minutes. It was one of our longest we've had. And then we've gotten some feedback that there's going to be a lot of people in Boulder for the film opening this weekend, and we've got 10 cities. We're excited. We're looking forward to it. We're also on Amazon Prime as well, and so that's the thing about releases these days. I'm used to, like, you grow up as a kid in the 90s. It was like, well, there's the theater. If you can't catch it in the theater, you got to wait months for that DVD. And
Yeah, you're waiting 6 months for that DVD or VHS, and
yeah, and so we opened in theaters, and it opened on Amazon Prime Video. So people can rent it on Prime Video and buy it on Prime Video, and we have a DVD and Blu-ray that's going to come out next month as well with special features, because I wanted that physical media. I refuse to. Streaming is great, but like the tangible thing you can hold. And we have a soundtrack that's coming out as well, the beautiful score that Terrell composed, and an original song that just debuted. So we're kind of, as an indie filmmaker, you can be an indie filmmaker, but the way I look at it is, I'm a filmmaker, we are filmmakers. Let's not cut any corners. Let's have the full soundtrack. Let's have the physical media. Let's have the original song. Let's do it all. Why not? At least that's my approach, but I feel like it can be anybody's.